Sweet, I'm so tired of you. Sweet, I'm so tired of you treat me this way. I'm sick and then I'm sweet, I'm so tired of you. Sweet, I'm so tired of you treat me this way. Everyone you must be this way.
Cool. What's up? This is Mantis.
And it's your girl Mona, and we're back for episode number 3. 1, 2, 3.
Yes. And today we're talking all things queer. So, I don't know, maybe it's going to be like an
interview session kind of thing.
Let's do an interview.
I think so. I like that.
Okay. And then you can jump in and just dig, yeah.
Okay. And then we also need Nicole to add. Okay, so let's get started, Mantis.
Cool.
Let's unpack LGBTQIA+. What does is there an H here? No. What does it mean?
What is it? Okay.
Your spelling is dodge. Jokes. But what does LGBTQIA+ mean, and what does the plus mean? I think some people...
They don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want each letter?
Yes.
Let's do each letter. Okay, cool. So L is lesbian, G is gay, B is bisexual. I must not get this wrong. Q is questioning.
You missed the T.
T is transgender. I is intersex. And then A, it's kind of like asexual, but there's a lot of sort of A identities. And then the plus is literally everybody but cisgender and straight.
Yeah, okay.
So if you don't identify as straight or you don't identify as cisgender, the plus is for you.
The plus is for you. And then the Q. Q, often people think is for queer. So, like, can you maybe walk us through? Well, I mean, I know, but for the viewers who are watching, why would the Q not be queer? And why would when you're questioning, wouldn't you just fall into either one of the other letters?
Yeah. I think we'll start with queer, right? So queer is almost an umbrella term for everybody but straight and cisgender.
So it's the plus.
Yeah, it's literally everything. It covers everybody. So no matter what kind of sort of expression or manifestation that your sexuality and your gender identity looks like, then you would essentially fall under queer. But a lot of people tend to not use the word queer. I remember typing into ChatGPT and they were like, no, that is offensive. When it first came out, and it was just like, I guess it's because of the history of the word queer. It's one of those reclaimed sort of terms that was reclaimed by the queer community because it was used sort of to discriminate against people who were identified as queer also, which is problematic because a lot of it is self-identification. So LGBTQIA+ equals queer.
Equals queer.
The Q in LGBTQIA+ is for questioning. So it's more of it allows you that fluidity. I think it's also an older term.
Yeah.
I think fluidity would actually be more descriptive of the Q.
No.
But it's essentially just provides you with community while you're trying to figure yourself out.
Yes.
So if you're questioning, you can't necessarily say I'm a lesbian, because there is a bit of questioning. Am I attracted to other people who are not necessarily sexed like me?
Yeah.
And I think the complexity of gender identity also just makes it.
Yeah, so it allows for a lot of the space. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think my next question would be, just thinking off the top of my head and like thinking about the things that people think about and you see on the internet, is when people refer to people from the LGBTQIA community, could we not just say queer community? What is queer community? It is inclusive of all.
Yeah, you can say queer community, but remember there's politics that are attached to the word queer.
Okay, yes.
So some people might still see it as like a discriminatory type term. It's like the N-word, like like some black people, it's like, don't call me nigger.
Yeah.
But there is that reclamation by part of the community. But some people just call me black.
Yeah.
I don't need the politics that are attached to the word. And yeah, so I think it's kind of the same. And also remember, this is just experience. It's an informed sort of opinion, but that's essentially the politics. Like for
So it's language. Like if we think about it, we speak a lot about language.
It's loaded language. So it's the same as so non-binary people. Also another sort of umbrella term within the queer community.
Yes.
But someone who identifies as non-binary might also identify as genderqueer.
Yes.
But genderqueer has more political sort of like
So
there's struggle and there's rebellion in calling yourself queer, whereas somebody would just be like, I just want to be known as non-binary. I don't want to be involved in politics.
Yeah, I think while we're still speaking on that topic, non-binary, genderqueer, one of the same things, two different things. How do people? So, for example, if you're non-binary and then masc or femme presenting or non-present, or is it a non-presenting? No,
I'm sure there is probably like a where you just androgynous.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I think that's the term.
Yeah.
What is into that? I think some people find it interesting. They want to ask questions but don't know. So can we unpack non-binary in between?
Non-binary.
The obvious is obviously you don't fall in between the two binaries.
Yeah.
And then there's no... People often think like, okay, then that means there's...
Straight down the middle.
In the meeting ground.
Yeah. So I think to take a step back, then we'll sort of have to talk about the construct of gender, right?
Yes.
Gender identity. So this is how, in my head, I thought some white man was like, we need to organize society and picked XY chromosomes and put them one side, XX chromosomes and put them on the other side, and then decided these are XY's men.
Yes. Male.
Male. And then XX female, but then also then place the identity of gender onto that. So male is your sex.
Yeah.
And then put how society then interacts with you. So there's distinct ways of if you're a man, society would expect certain things of you, indadamast, and all of those things, right? Yeah. So there's that expectation that's attached to the gender identity of men. Yeah. And the same is true for women, right?
Yeah.
Non-binary is almost like a playing field where there are no rules. You can present in any way that you want, any way that affirms your identity, and there's literally no rules. Yeah. So there's always this, and sometimes non-binary does fall under the transgender umbrella. Sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, it's very much individualized, and I think we tend to try homogenize communities.
Agreed.
And people, but this non-binary person might not be the same as the non-binary person that you meet tomorrow.
Yes.
So it's very important to sort of ask the questions respectfully. But essentially, non-binary, genderqueer could be the same thing. Like I said, genderqueer has a bit of a political loadedness.
Yeah.
But essentially, playing field, there are no rules.
Yeah. And I think when you say on the space of like that non-binary can fall, like, is sometimes put into the trans umbrella.
Yeah. And
people almost feel like or think that when you trans, you go all the way to the other side or all the way to the other side. But people are still struggling with the idea of like, it doesn't have to fit either binary. So like, for example, if you think about non-binary masc presenting, then people just automatically assume that it's,
trans man. Yeah. I think, and it's a socialization thing. We are taught to think in absolutes.
Yes.
So even watching Bongo's shows now, they're doing opposites. It's hot and cold.
Yeah.
Something is, but then we don't talk about lukewarm. Maybe it's at 80 degrees, maybe it's at 20 degrees. There's tall and short, big and small.
Black and white.
Black and white. Boy and girl.
Yeah.
So because we're socialized into this kind of extremist, I don't think extremities.
Yeah.
Thinking in extremities. Then you grow up and that's how you take in the world.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when you are trying to take in this construct of gender, which is unpacked nowhere in education, that's how you then, that's default.
Yeah.
Is to be like, okay, if a man is meant to be like this, then a woman is the opposite.
That's true.
So masculine, feminine.
Okay, got you.
And that's it. And if you were sexed, let's say you were assigned female at birth, and you come out and you say, I'm a non-binary person.
Yes.
Or then they think you just get to the, like 50%, right in the middle. You either...
So it's like, you're still feminine, but like, you're in the middle, but
yeah.
you.
Yeah. And I think, and this is how I've sort of understood non-binary, to be able to class myself as that and label myself that, is that here are these rules for a woman, here are these rules for men. I literally did not subscribe to any of them.
Yeah.
So I kind of just do my own thing, whatever feels good for me. I do struggle with things like body dysphoria, which is something that a lot of trans people do deal with. But also I'm not taking any hormones or anything like that. So there's just a thing. So people also like with non-binary people, let's say you're assigned female at birth, they're like, okay, when are you doing top surgery? I'm like, never. I'm cool.
Yeah. It's like there's no, I don't have to go from the one end to the other end. And like, I hear them, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's what people struggle with. But you mentioned like a really good point earlier on where you said, we want absolutes.
Yes.
And people are stuck in those things. Like, for example, chatting to Issy when we read your book, Issy obviously understands like, 2 women can be together, 2 men can be together. I was driving to work and I was watching our podcast and she was sitting in the back. She goes, oh, no, she. And I was like, no, they're not a she. They're a mantis. And I could almost see like her brain just, and she said nothing. She just sat. Because I think that she didn't know what to ask.
Yeah.
So it's not that she didn't know. So she didn't say, oh, then is she a boy?
Yeah.
Or are they a boy? It was a case of like, okay.
I love kids for that as well. Kids are like awesome, and I think it's almost like where kids are like, when you take a t-shirt out of the washing machine and it's all crumpled and whatnot. I feel like education then just irons out all of those creases.
I agree.
But yeah, you'll find kids who are just like, they'll literally, because they get confused because they are taught opposites, boy, girl. And then they come to me and they're like, are you a boy or a girl? And I'm like, neither. And they're like, okay. And then they
carries on, right? And then it's so weird. Like, why can't adults just do the same? Especially because we have, I guess, the knowledge and the thought capacity to just take what people say for what it could be and just move on, where kids are like the ones who could be like, but I've been taught this or that, but they can be like, it's not that, no, it's that. Okay, cool.
It's our default setting. Actually, I don't think it's a default setting. I feel the default setting is the crinkled whatnot.
Yes.
But we've been ironed out, and then there's been visible consequences for you thinking like out of the norm.
Yeah.
So thinking like that, accepting a person who says that they are one thing, but your brain is going back to your education and be like, no, that doesn't make sense to me. And it's almost like accepting what this person is going to say in front of me, is then there's going to be consequences, because then you find a lot of people, and I'm going to use the word accept very loosely, because I don't think people need to be accepted for what they are, but you'll find that if you have queer friends and you're seen with queer people or whatnot, there is a little bit of distance that some people might put between themselves and you, purely because now you are part of this thing that is not in the norm, or That's what I'm trying. I'm using the norm, but I'm not going to say normal.
Yeah.
Okay. So things that are not socially accepted in today's day and age, and possibly 60 years ago. I think a lot of us are still living 60 years ago.
It's so weird that you say that. It's like, I truly believe that. I think as advanced, I use that loosely as well, because I feel like language is quite tricky. As progressive, or I don't even say it's progressive because people are who they are and they've always been who they've been. There's still a thing when people struggle with that. And I'm like, I don't understand how people in our day and age can still struggle with something that is so clear, something in all the spaces that they move through. Maybe like in our parents' days, they'd move through spaces and people would continuously still have to not fully be themselves, or like it was called out when they are in a space. But wherever you go now, like you can't say that you don't know that people can identify and can be the way that they are.
Yeah, but I mean, you remember when the crosswalk in Greenpoint was painted rainbow colors and people lost their minds in 2023? They lost their minds. They're like, we're going to go paint over it. I'm like, what does it do to your life?
When there's a rainbow in the sky, do they switch it off?
And then, like, you know, when Pride Month comes around, and then brands now affiliate with Pride because they're just trying to sell their stuff to queer people, because purchasing power.
100%.
And you just get this meaning like, oh, I can't drink Bud Light anymore.
It has a rainbow.
Yes, it's got a rainbow. And it's just like...
But the Bud Light hasn't changed, Dion.
No. But it's the association, it's the proximity to queer people that you're just like, gross, yeah.
People just do too much. People do too much. I love this question. What was your first introduction to queerness?
I think it was Brenda Fassie and her girlfriend Cindy back in the 90s when Brenda was just doing everything. I don't even think it's the most because she was doing everything. And obviously you'll have like her music playing in the house and whatnot. We had TV that actually played music videos. We don't have that anymore. MTV used to play music videos, but not Brenda on MTV. But anyway, Brenda Fassie had a girlfriend, and it was headlines everywhere, and it was almost taken negatively. So that's also like taking a step back of like, oh, okay, here's this woman who's got a girlfriend and they're loving each other, but there was always an insertion of a man in that. So very negative, even though it was just like, oh, Brenda, you know, she just does too much. And then Brenda Fassie, got girlfriend, you know, so it was always just seen like it was almost like it was an act of rebellion. It's almost like she was acting that she's tired of men and now she's going to do the most extreme thing that's up next, which is go get a girlfriend. So there was that, and then it was, I'm not sure who came first, Will and Grace or Jason and Senzo.
As you were chatting, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I can't remember the first introduction to queerness, and is it maybe just because I've never had a point to have to pinpoint out, but the times that I can pinpoint are just outrage. Like, we watched a lot of Generation in our household, and like when Jason and Senzo, for me it was a case of like, oh, cool. My dad was like,
on national television, War 8.
When every single black person in South Africa is sitting in front of their TV screen.
100%. What a powerful move. Flip. That was actually...
And no one stopped watching.
Amazing power. Yeah. And it was just like... And I loved how their story, it didn't... Like, it wasn't a woman that broke them up. It wasn't like, you know, constant back and forth. It was just literally a queer story, love story. and sort of what they have to battle. I think I stopped watching Generations a little bit because it was just boring for me. But that was an amazing, actually, a point. But like you said, outrage.
Yeah.
How dare they?
Yes, it was.
Then you have Will and Grace, but I guess Will and Grace played on the white channel out of all of those SABCs.
They weren't catching all the black people in South Africa at the same time. Okay.
Yeah, so you actually had to go out of your way to watch Will and Grace. But, and then I think Jack was a relatable character because that's what I understood gay to be, is to be that feminine man, louder than most. Everything is just bigger.
Yeah.
And as a quiet kid, I'm like, if I'm queer, do I have to be bigger than I am, you know? Loud and eccentric and all of these things, or is that just reserved for the assigned male at birth who then identify as gay? So those were sort of my introductions. And then I think if I lived in the hood a little bit longer, I would had seen more queer people. But it's almost like it's a spectacle. That queer person, and it's like, you know, okay.
Yep.
I'm blowing.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing, like, I'm like, Funimvunta, pay your actors, first of all. But for me, how he brought awareness to, like, many people of, like, here's a gay couple. And Jason and Senzo, they weren't flamboyant, they weren't feminine.
No.
They were still very much masculine, still very much manly men, if we can, for lack of a better definition at the moment.
Yeah.
But still, their relationship was, like, based, their problems and things that came up were the same as all Karabo and whoever she was dating at the time.
Karabo's issues were many.
But it's still rooted in the idea of, like, relationships are between people.
Yeah.
Jason or Senzo are still also going through the same thing as Dao and Karabo.
Yeah, that's true. So shout out to Mfundi.
Yeah, but pay your actors, bro. Okay, Mantis, you have your thinking cap on?
Got it.
Perfect. Do you think the sudden addition of gender identities is confusing?
From my experience, and I think we touched on this in the first episode when we were getting to know each other.
Yeah.
And I alluded to the fact that I didn't have access to language to sort of then unpack what I was feeling. If I had the language, if I had just this little introductory, non-binary, genderqueer, just a little introduction that I did now, that would have made all of the difference to 5-year-old Mantis.
Yeah.
What I think society is doing is then it's almost like there's a group of people over here who are busy unpacking themselves and trying to figure out what it is about themselves that makes them feel good, affirms them, makes them want to live long and see the world and do all of these things, right? And then there's a group of people here who are like, no, it wasn't like that in 1991. It wasn't like that 100 years ago. We're going to stick to what we're sticking to. But like, you've just selected this piece to stick to because there's a lot of things that have changed over the last 150 years.
Yes.
But there isn't, it's almost like we're not given the space for that space to almost be colorful.
Yes.
So, I mean, even now, my child, Ngwang, okay, there's obviously, when people ask, is it a girl or boy, my reaction in my head, because I don't have the balls to say it out loud sometimes, it's like, are you asking if my child has a vagina or penis? Or what are you asking me?
Is it a girl or a boy? That's what they're asking you.
But
that's literally what they're asking.
But why? Why at that point do you need? Why do I need to state? So it's now.
I think it's sometimes because when they want to speak about them, to not have to say "ngwango," they want to associate maybe a possible pronoun. So when they do ask, they insert the pronoun instead of.
Sometimes it's just to be like, is this child pretty because it's a girl? Or can I be rough and tumble with this child because it's a boy? But anyway, that's something we'll unpack later. But but essentially, we'll sometimes say, like, if someone is like, is it a girl or a boy? And we're like, I don't know. They'll tell us when they're about 3 or so, once they start to understand sort of how gender shows up in their spaces.
Yeah.
And we've been accused of confusing the child. I'm like, how are we confusing when we're giving more options? And I guess it comes down to SABC 1, 2, and 3, and Netflix.
And Coco Melon and Mrs. Rachel.
Yeah, so it's like, do you just want to give them SABC 1, 2, and 3, which is defined channels? You know what you're gonna get. If you're on SABC 1, you know you're gonna get this.
Yeah.
Nguni languages. SABC 2, you go more to the Sotho languages. SABC 3, English. But you know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
And then Netflix is like, so.
But it's so interesting because once Ngwangu goes to school,
Yes, I'm very scared.
that is gonna change.
Yeah.
I don't say everything, but it's like you're gonna start seeing visible actions that they might take because at school they're like, you don't go there, you might have to go there, you don't, you have to do. And it's weird because if I think at Issa's school, no, they've just got toilets.
Yeah.
They don't have like urinals or stall. They've got stalls for everyone.
Yeah. So we had to vet to school.
Yeah.
So Ngwangu can start next year. And it's one of the questions that I actually did ask the principal of the school. It's just like, or the person who was taking us around, and she only mentioned the bathrooms because they do separate them with the bathroom situation. But she was just like, if I'm in this side, and like if I've taken a little boy to the bathroom, and one of the girls stands up and wants to come to the bathroom, we're not going to say that we must go that way.
Okay, perfect.
Because the adult is here supervising this little boy. So you can just slot in the stall next to him, and then there's adult supervision in this space, right?
Yeah.
So they were just like, it's just, they're there, but it's not like steadfast to that. This is the rule. You must never, ever find yourself in those spaces.
That makes sense.
So I think confusion...
I don't think it's confusion.
I think it's just people are just not willing to let go of
what they know,
what they think they know.
I think going back to the question for me is, I think sudden addition is just, there's like, and I might be controversial, but I think, let me use my words. Gender identities for me is we've established that obviously the binary, non-binary, we understand that anyone can exist in any space. I think where I get thrown off is now we're naming everything. Like the 80%, the 70%, the 60%, and dons. Because it's I think I saw somewhere someone that was like, they were like XYP. As a gender identity, I have no idea what that is. And like, do people then get to decide, can you decide on your own that this is the gender identity that you pick and you want to be associated with? Or is it almost like you have to find someone else who fits the nice, neat things as you? Well, not as you, but I mean like I think how many identities are there? There's over like 120.
I don't know. I heard a joke there. Like,
Nicole, do you know? But I think there's more than like 100.
But they like every time someone says anything homophobic or transphobic, we're gonna add a letter. So I mean, I think when I was coming up, it was just gay.
Yes,
everything was just gay. If you're not, and then with the evolution and sort of unpacking the language. That's when sort of then it's like, oh, okay, I can't be lesbian because I don't identify with the sex that I was assigned at birth. So it's just almost unpacking it. I said, I think the question says sudden addition, because like I said, it was just gay like 20 years ago, and now there's like a whole massive acronym that seems to be building. And I think it's almost validating every single identity. And I think we're going to get to a point where people are just people. And there's normalization of you just are.
Yeah.
But I think because there is the staunch sort of, this is straight, this is cisgender, this is this is that, the addition of gender and sexualities, you know, like 15 years ago, pansexual didn't exist.
Also, who gets to decide what letters included in LGBTQIA plus and which letter isn't?
I mean, yeah, it's because the P.
It's a P. Then it's going to be P, D.
And the order, why we start with lesbians and like all of that stuff. It's just politics. But I think eventually we're going to get to a point where people are just people. And when you enter a room, you don't assume a person's gender. You don't assume their identity. You don't assume their sexuality or sexuality. You can ask.
And just take people for how they are and how they
them. Yeah. Believe them when they tell you who they are.
People want to make up stuff.
Yeah.
I think because time to play, it's up. Time to play, it's so up.
Yeah.
Oh, actually leads nicely. How do you feel about labels?
Yeah. So I wear my labels. I've got a genderqueer sign here on my arm, queen written underneath. We'll go back to.
But now we can't see the tattoos.
I'll wear a t-shirt next time.
Okay.
But we go back to sort of 5-year-old Mantis. I was 5 in 1993. But I think that's where my gender identity started sort of not like deviating from little girl. I think I won Miss James Douglas 1994, and then we went on a short live. So that's where like even my tensions with my mom started around how I was being dressed. It was being forced to wear a dress at school, especially in winter. It didn't make sense to me that I must wear a dress and socks.
But the boys get to wear.
Yeah, they look like long johns underneath, you know? Like basic things like school uniform. So that's where my sort of tensions started happening. And I was reading a lot, but everything was girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy. All kind of like romance was in that context, but I had a crush on a girl. So if I had a person like Mantis who wears those labels, I would be able to then find bits of me in 36-year-old Mantis and sort of apply to 5-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old, 20-year-old Mantis, so that by the time I'm 21, 22, I have information of what my identity is, and if I choose not to wear those labels, then I choose not to. But I think because we come from a place of lack, that's why I wear my labels. I think you don't have to. And also another thing is that your labels can change over time. So just because I wear my labels, it doesn't mean that I'm bogged down to this is who I am.
No, but you know society. Society
bisexual.
wants you to be, you can't change now.
No, absolutely
They're
not.
like, stand on business.
And it's the same even in the queer community where you have like, you'll be looked down upon if like, I know because it's the closest community to me, excuse me, just like lesbians who don't date like bisexual people, and there's a lot of biphobia within the community. There's a lot of transphobia within the queer community, and I think it's almost that whole discriminatory type thing, the proximity. We don't want to be like those people, and this one is worse than this one, and you know, at least I'm a you know. So I think normalizing, sort of understanding that people wear many labels, self-identifying and just being yourself and being allowed to be yourself and being yourself in whatever way it manifests. I think that's something that we need more examples of. And I don't think we're at a point where we can stop wearing those labels.
Yeah. I like how you said earlier on, like, labels help, well, makes you think of a 5-year-old you. Had you had the language or seen the visibility, it would have helped you to better understand who you are, or like where you want to go, what you want to explore. And I've also picked up, like, whenever we, throughout this whole conversation about gender and sexuality, always go back to little you. How does you now, now that you have the language, the verbiage and things like that, will you always bring those two together, or do you think they married, or are you able to experience and live and continue as you are and because you are, you know who you are, and not bring up little old you?
No.
Okay, not little you.
Sorry, I'm going to edit that out. 36-year-old Mantis has gone down maybe 15 years of healing of my identity specifically. There's other things that are not healed. There's still
ways
to need
mental health episode.
Yeah. But as it pertains to my gender identity and my sexuality and my queerness, I think it's been a journey of about 15 years where I've been very intentional about how I show up.
Yeah.
And you know, you always get like these little life coaches and whatnot, and they're like, you must understand the why. 5-year-old Mantis is the why. Yes, for my kids, yes, for my nieces and my nibblings and nephews and all of that. But the focus of that journey has always been 5-year-old Mantis. And that kid walks with me, and then so that healing process is that 5-year-old Mantis can see 40-year-old Mantis. In, you know, we can all meet up and in a healthier space. So I don't think I can't divorce the two. My inner child is gonna make me cry.
Oh. Well, remember how when we did start, it was about language, unpacking, getting to know, and like in the way that you're unpacking and sharing now, and like obviously there's a lot of vulnerability, but there's a lot of words that you're sharing and how you're presenting that maybe someone else might be like, this is exactly what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. And thank you for sharing. And I keep thinking about like, thank you for sharing, Mantis.
No worries.
Being vulnerable. I know sometimes questions just...
Yeah, it brought up quite a lot of feelings, but it's all good. Yeah, stories of experience.
100%, literally. Yeah. We don't make this shit up. Okay. Do you think queerness is an attack on masculinity and femininity?
Yeah, the whole masculinity and femininity conversation. I think as a society, we also tend to conflate certain things. So, you know, like gender, sex, we sort of use them interchangeably. And it's weird that that is fine, like we can use them interchangeably, but once you sort of challenge the gender thing, then it's like we're going into semantics, like, no, you're a woman, you know? But I guess that's what we do when things are uncomfortable. We revert back to what we have been taught quite staunchly. So there's an idea that masculinity and its traits belong to one gender identity, while femininity and its traits belong to another. And then there's also like some of the traits that are listed underneath those things, you know? So like, again, opinion.
Mine.
Things that you read somewhere, but like if I ask you, if I say, what are the traits of masculinity, what would you say? So aggression, assertiveness, being hard, not showing emotion. I think they've also put decisiveness underneath there. And then when you think femininity, it's like, oh, soft,
feminine energy,
nurturing, loving, able to take care of children,
nurturing,
can do laundry.
Yes.
You see, can cook, can do laundry, must love children, and all of those things, right? So for me, a person who doesn't embody both masculinity and femininity is unbalanced. Obviously, how much of it that you put into your body, whatever. I'm using very visceral type examples, but if you were to take one glass blue,
other glass pink,
and you make a variation of sort of magenta, violet, indigo,
depending on how much you pour,
depending on how much you pour. But I think everybody has some sort of has some shade of purple as sort of the masculinity. So it's almost impossible to then attack femininity or masculinity just because you deem that femininity can only be in a woman's body. So that's the one. And I think the people who are most touched, it's not, there is an attack on something, and that's toxic.
I think masculinity thinks everything's not is an attack on it.
But it's not just masculinity, it's toxic masculinity. I think there's like it needs to be said, it's not masculinity, because there are people who embody masculinity but can handle their emotions, they can regulate.
Fine few in between.
But that's because we've normalized toxic masculinity. I'll tell you a story. When I first came out, no, it wasn't the first time I came out. I've come out,
I was going to say a couple of
multiple times.
By come out multiple times, are you saying like different gender identities or just to different people?
So gender identities and sexualities.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I've settled on queer now because it allows me to breathe. It allows me to breathe. But when I was in high school, still trying to figure something out, I settled on bisexual. And then I came to Cape Town and I was lesbian. And then my gender identity kind of overtook my sexuality. And then that became sort of the focus. And then was like, am I still lesbian? So at different points in my life, I've been different things.
Okay. Which speaks to the fluidity.
100%. And sort of changing the labels because, you know, you change your t-shirt every day.
And you wash.
Please. So I think it's toxic masculinity. So in varsity, when I sort of assumed more permanently my masc energy, I adopted toxic things. Going into the club and just acting the fool. Things that boys do, being inducted into the boys' club and having conversations that were wildly inappropriate, seeing things happen and just being like, it's none of my business. That is a toxic thing. It's not masculinity. I think masculinity is here, and the toxicity is what corrupts masculinity. And I don't know, in terms of femininity, people are going to be like, yo, I don't see toxicity in femininity, but I do see people who embody more femininity in the traditional sense then become the gatekeepers of toxic masculinity. That he's just a man. This is how men behave. He not a must, he must. And it's just like, it's not necessary. All of that is not necessary. I think if you tap into all of the qualities that are strong within you, like Star Wars now, like Yoda, whatever is inside you that makes you stronger, that makes you smarter, that makes you kinder, that makes you exist in a society a little bit better, those are the things that you need to tap into versus masculine. And there's a lot of people who are men and identify as men and assigned male at birth and all of those things who are not, they are seen as soft.
Yeah.
Like there's something wrong with a man who wants to cook for his wife, or a man who doesn't want to be in construction, or it's just like doesn't want to be in the gym and just be a scorer. It's just like there's many ways of being human.
Agreed.
And all of them should be valid. And I think there is a balance of masculinity and femininity. So the answer is no.
There's no attack. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I also think to some degree it's like, if you think of when people are like, I think, and I may be using it wrong, but like hyper-independence or hyper-femininity? I don't know, but it's that one where cis-het women start embodying a lot of masculinity traits. But then maybe to some degree we can say it's the toxic bits, because it's the being more aggressive, or like more like pushing against boundaries, don't want to do this, have to come into a space. And if you think about a work environment, for example, you almost have to, if you're entering a boys' club, leaning into your feminine energy, because apparently these are things that we can just come in and out of.
Yeah.
It's almost when you have to adopt that, it becomes bigger.
Yeah. It's like even if you take assertiveness.
Yeah.
A man will be called assertive. A woman's going to be called a bitch.
Yeah, 100%.
Even though they're making the same decisions, they have the same sort of energy. I think there's an extreme to most of the traits.
Yeah.
And the trick is not to fall to that extreme. Because you can be assertive. There's nothing wrong with being assertive and decisive. There's nothing wrong with being nurturing, being loving. You can also embody all of these things at the same time. And tap into different parts of it at different stages. Almost like the code switching of
nanities.
Yeah. So like know where you are, read the room sometimes, right? But there's the toxicity then becomes like the aggression. Like aggression is not, it shouldn't be a trait that's attributed to anything.
Yeah. So like I've been watching quite a few things on TikTok. I was going to say on Tinder, but I'm not on Tinder anymore. And it speaks to like, because I'm dating again, right?
Yeah.
So it speaks to a lot like, if you're trying to get this type of thing, you need to lean into more of this so you can make the masculine energy feel like this, so you can do this. But if you do this, it almost makes the masculine energy feel the. And it's like, okay, well, if we're both assertive, why must I now be less assertive? Leaning into your energy, feminine energy, is you letting go of what's attributed to masculinity. So like speaking to that, there should be everyone can embody those things. But again, like when we go back to gender is a construct that society tells us how to behave, and based off how we're taught and told how to behave, we then adopt certain things.
100%.
Well, behaviors. I want to call them behaviors.
Or you lean into traits. Sometimes you lean into traits that aren't even yours.
100%. So like, I'm not soft, but not like I'm not as soft. Oh, thank you. You know when you did this, I won't be like, that was shit. You did shit. But now,
but don't be aggressive. But like that's not a masculine thing.
It is a masculine thing, but it's
that's just aggression.
But now TikTok says I must be in my feminine, because when I do that, it's not leaning into my femininity. It's leaning to more
of your masculinity. But if you're in a conflict situation, which part of the list of femininity would you tap into?
Nah.
They're not going to work for you. So you need to tap into your masculinity, not physical.
Not the
Our
physical.
hands are not for hitting.
Therefore,
Hugging.
Kissing.
But yeah, no, don't. I think that's that whole thing of like maybe you'll be deep purple and then the next day you'll be lilac.
Yes.
So I think it's situational.
I like that. The energies or the ninities that you lean into are situational to what you're experiencing at the time.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that, Mantis. Oh my word. What is the big deal with the pronouns? Oh, all the time.
All the time. My name is Mantis. My pronouns are they, them.
My name is Mona. My pronouns are she, her.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
Nicole?
I don't care.
This is Nicole. Nicole doesn't care of our pronouns. And all of that is valid, right?
Yes.
Because I think my worst thing is like I don't believe in pronouns, but in English, grade 1, 2, or 3, one of those grades, you literally do pronouns.
Yes. You're taught pronouns at school.
Yes, and literally all that's happened is, again, we've expanded the playing field.
Like, why can't it
include other children?
True.
And I think even non-binary people are doing a service, because there are a lot more gender neutral pronouns. I don't even know all of them. So even just the they them are people giving you a little bit of grace, because there's I think I've seen about 12 variations for non-binary people. There's the XE, there's a Fae, there's a lot. I don't know them. Hey? Like if right? Yeah. And then there's some people who's just like, whatever you feel like referring to me on that day, I will go with it. But I think again, it feels like a sudden intrusion of, why must I learn your pronouns? I don't believe in pronouns. It's the worst thing. But I think it's again people trying to find out where they fit and saying it loudly that I don't fit here.
Yes. And
asking to be seen and validated that I don't fit here. This is where I want to sort of fit. This is where I feel safe. This is where my mind is settled. I'm at peace here. I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
So I think that's where sort of the pronoun conversation a lot of the time doesn't manage to get to, because people are just like,
yeah,
you're a girl, you're a she, and that's that.
You're a boy, you're a he.
Yeah.
And if there's one of you, it can't be there.
It can't be there.
And it's like, okay, well, how did we get there?
Grammatically correct as well.
Yeah.
Which is another one. I always give those examples. Like if someone's coming to fix your washing machine and you call your mom and you're like, okay, so-and-so is coming at 1, please open for them.
Yes.
Is that not there's one person coming to your house?
But you're using... So for me, I think the part really needs to get to the piece the part needs to get to the piece. The conversation needs to get to the part where why are they important? It's important so that the person you're addressing or speaking about is affirmed, well, not as affirmed, that you use the correct pronouns when speaking about them. Yeah. So, for example, I'm she, hers, but I don't mind being referred to as they, them. But sometimes I feel like I can't put that in my signature, because they, them is then specifically put aside for people who don't fall into the binaries. But I, on the other hand, when I speak about people in general, if I don't even have to know your pronouns, to be quite honest. Yeah. I'm using they, them.
Yeah. I'll give you another example, which goes to Mr. and Mrs.
Yes.
Right? Mr. you don't know if this man is, it's a child, because you can have Mr. Toleni, who's a little boy, is 10 years old.
Yes.
It could be a married man. It could be an unmarried man. It could be a divorced man. But we use Mr. for it, right? Then for women, all of a sudden there's Miss, Mrs.
Ms.
And then there's the MS.
Yes. Unmarried woman.
But a lot of people, like my mom uses MS, and she's like, it's none of your business that I'm married.
Yeah, I use MS as well.
But then people generally, and I think that's also again where women are then put in society, that it's important that I know that you are married, because then I need to, pour a little bit more respectability into your name.
And how
because when you're a married woman, you must,
And then Miss is a young woman, a little girl.
It's a child. It's a child. It's someone who's just, can send around. What? She's cute. She must be small. Like little, like Miss Universe. The fact that there's Miss Universe and there's Miss South Africa and there's Mrs. South Africa as well. To me, why does the proximity to a man
is
change your entire thing? But essentially, I forgot where I was going with this, but with the they, them, it's like it's either you identify as non-binary or we don't know. And I think it's valid that you can put they, them on your anything, because you're not leading with your gender identity.
Yeah. I like that.
You're Mona-Lisa.
I think that is a point that we could.
So you could use literally, and I think people think that I don't know. Come back to myself. I and other non-binary people that I've met are not precious about they, them. Like, she, her is like, that's for us. It's for us. And you've seen the wars on TikTok where women are going against trans women, and it's just like, no, this is, you can't call yourself a woman, you're not a real woman. And it's just like this possessiveness as well.
Well, we are all marginalized.
Yeah, so I don't think we're that precious about they, them.
Yeah.
And you'll have people who put their pronouns as she, they. And it's literally just to be like, there's that space. But I might not even identify as non-binary, but 100%. I'm just not leading with my gender identity.
Or when people go like, she, they, so you're non-binary but a woman. And you're like, does that make sense when you think about that? Like, when you sat and made that thought in your brain.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of conversations when they come to gender, sexuality, how people present themselves, how people choose to live themselves, if people took more time to just sit and think, they would come to the conclusion of, it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely believe that people get to the point that it has nothing to do with me. It starts becoming something to do with you when you're trying to push against what someone else believes in. So like, for example, like transphobia, homophobia, all the phobias, is somebody who's now sat and decided that they don't like something else and has now expressed it, and now they don't understand when the other person is saying, but you can't say that.
Yeah.
But you can't dictate how I live my life.
Yeah.
So if people just sat and thought and came to the conclusion that it has nothing to do with them, I think it would be fine.
And when you say like homophobia, transphobia, and all the phobias, it's literally just transphobia, homophobia, biphobia that they've classed as a phobia, but everything else is an ism.
Yes.
It's sexism, it's racism.
Is there lesbophobia?
Well, it's coupled. It's all in homophobia.
Queerphobia.
Queerphobia.
Yes.
But the thing is, that's also, if you think about language, a phobia is something that you're scared of. Like
a fear.
Like it's a fear, it's something that you can't sort of rationalize through. And then, but it's around gender constructs, social constructs. Then you have racism there, and it's bad. So, like, someone would not want to be accused of racism, but they can, it's just a fear. They scare me, these people.
Not that they do anything
Not that
to
there's
you.
an actual institutionalized system against a specific group of people who identify a certain way. It's just it's ick.
Oh.
Gives me the ick.
Ooh.
How wild is that?
I've never thought of that.
I'd literally just right now.
The phobias. That's shit.
Right now. And that legitimizes it. That's why we have laws in 2024 where someone can be sentenced to life in prison for being themselves. That's wild.
Because the system is scared of...
But if you can prove that someone is being racist, they are going to jail. Maybe for 2 years, but they'll go to jail.
They'll go to jail.
It's not legal. Hectic.
I'm having like a...
I'm going to leave the studio mad.
Mad. Many feelings today, many feelings. Okay. I'm assuming this one is for me. Well, not for me, for us, for you. For both of us. What is the importance of allyship in queerness?
I think allyship in queerness is what is needed. So you have all of these queer people being loud and proud and, taking up space. But it almost requires the amplification of allyship, because then it legitimizes it.
Yes.
It's not just a group of people who are doing their own thing and, stay away from them. But once you have someone who is socially accepted sort of put their stamp on another person, it then becomes slowly integrated into what society deems as the norm. I'll give you an example. My pronouns. Everywhere I go, when I introduce myself, I always give pronouns. It others me, because most spaces that I do that, I'm usually the only person who does it. But there'd be days where I'll walk into a Zoom meeting, and someone will be like, "Hi, Mona," pronounce she, her, and then that feeling it's 5-year-old Mantis again, like smiling and just being like, oh, almost gives you permission to be yourself and step forward as your whole self.
Yeah.
Because even me saying my pronouns, it's almost like an act of rebellion all the time. Like, yes, they're gonna know. Yeah. But once someone is an ally, simply just shares their pronouns, it almost it unlocks something for you, and also then you feel included in the conversation, as opposed to being the group and Mantis that run ladies and Mantis. Yeah, so that's one sort of example of how allyship tends to include, make the circle bigger.
I like that. I think the importance for me of allyship and queerness is, for me, I think it's the responsibility that I have, that I take up very happily too. I think, I don't know how to, it should be second nature to make sure that people in the space that you're in feel like privilege.
Yes.
It's like privilege. You have this thing that you've done nothing to get. So why don't you make the most of it to be able to bring people to be able to enjoy the things that you enjoy?
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Yeah. 100%.
You have this, and those people look at this as a thing that they're thinking about. So why don't you use this to bring everyone so that we can all be this?
Yeah. Yeah. That's 100%.
Ooh, I'm going to teach it to my daughter like that.
You have an apple.
Yes.
Those kids don't have an apple, but they want an apple. So why don't you cut your apple?
And so we can all have an apple.
Everybody has an apple. So then next time,
we all know what an apple tastes like when we talk about it.
And
I think it's very important. I think if you are, and it's a responsibility that you should have to be allyship. And I think if you can understand it in the concept of white people using their privilege and as a person of color, I then don't understand when people don't understand the importance of allyship, when it's a different identity that needs to be included.
I mean, if it doesn't affect me, why should I bother? Out of sight, out of mind.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, that does happen a lot. Of just like, and I think it's also just, sometimes it's also ignorance. You can't do what you don't know. So, and this is the importance of then diversifying the circles that you exist in. So if you are a straight black woman and you only
Singam.
and you only associate yourself with other straight black women, you're not going to know that sometimes when Mantis is in the room and everybody's calling each other ladies, it's this person might feel ostracized.
Yeah.
So, and it's not because you're doing it intentionally. We're not obviously saying that there's negative intent, but you won't know what you don't know. Like, even if you talk about like accessibility, there's stairs. I joined OHS.
Yes.
I didn't know that there was a move that you would learn in first aid, because there might be someone who's not able to walk down the stairs in a fire drill.
Yes. What is the move?
Well, you take two people and you just like arms, and then they can sit on you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anybody like.
But you must be a bit of a scholar.
No, you don't even need to be a scholar. Yeah.
So you're telling me two of you can carry me?
Yes.
Irrespective of our strength?
Yes, because you're also using your upper body just to hold on to.
Okay.
Yeah, but something like that, like I've never in my mind, because I don't have people with physically different needs in my sort of tight-knit circle. Yeah. So you're walking, running up and down the steps, and you're just like, what about someone who would be in a wheelchair?
Yeah.
So it applies to everything, and I think it's almost like needing to open yourself up to the world and the people of the world, and then eventually getting to a point where everybody is just themselves.
And really, like you mentioned earlier on, like it's not this other thing that's happening. It's, as humans, we experience a range of things all at once, all the time. But for some wild reason, it feels like human society is struggling to reconcile with this piece, where it shouldn't be the case, because like, you know, racism is bad, war is bad, these things are bad, yet you can, the fight on them isn't as but yet this, I don't even want to say this, but this experience that includes a multitude and diverse group of people that could experience similar things, yet there's a whole war against it.
So I think it's just human experience. I have a job, I have a family, I have a dog. I love my dog. But essentially I'm married. These are human experiences. I love to travel, all of these things, but it's just things that you like, things that you experience, human experience. It's just that I am who I am, and that's the only reason that it's not valid. My
that would
human
make
experience
us
is
different.
invalid.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to have a human experience unless I conform
to what is believed by society, and you perform and must act in a certain.
But we're getting there. We're getting somewhere. The fact that I am married and have a child and
have a dog sleeps in the room
and travel and all these things, we're getting somewhere. But I think we need everybody's help in this.
I think as we like near the end of the episode, I just want to almost like thank you for like leaning in, being vulnerable, being able to have this conversation. I know for a while we've always spoken about like, why should I have to tell you just use the internet? But I think you leaning in is a nice way to propel into, now that people are thinking about this, it then opens doors to other things. So thanks for letting me in, Mantis, and sharing.
No worries.
And letting me ask all the wild questions that the people are thinking about. But I really appreciated the space.
100%. And join the conversation down in the comments. Find us out wherever we are.
Yeah.
Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you for the next one. Peace.